Thanks for being with us, guys. It's good to be back with our team. Yesterday was our first day. We've gone twice. Yesterday, went once this morning. The morning practices are kind of non-contact, almost trying to game-like cutting and kind of going back over some different things that we haven't practiced with our team in a while. And we'll go this afternoon and then obviously twice tomorrow and get ready for Jackson State on Thursday. But good to be back in the gym and a little rough around the edges, but guys have had good spirit and I know they're anxious to play.
Ben starts off.
Kermit, it had been 21 days since you'd actually gotten to coach the guys through a practice, and you mentioned it a little rough around the edges, but how rough was it? Did they look a little better maybe than you expected, or was it about what you thought?
Well, you know what happened, Ben, last week? Sometimes, you get what you wish for, okay? So sometimes it's not great. And so I said, guys, so I went to our medical staff, and I said, I think I should be able to work our team out, individually. And they said, hey, Coach, we think you can do that. You had it. That'd be great. And so, yes, at first I felt like I was back in doing Dixie basketball camp back in the South. I was going from 7 to 10. So I was doing like 9 or 10 individual workouts from Tuesday all the way to Sunday, and 45 minutes apiece. So at least that was good that I got my hands on them. It was just me and the player, and so it was just, we were just doing some individual cutting and skill development. So that was great just to kind of get their legs back under them. And I hadn't really seen them in a long time, so it was great for me to spend some time with them. And but they really did. They did fine yesterday. Their effort was really good. They were competitive. As you try to get your team back going, we have to be cognizant of the fact of not trying to do too much, and then because everybody knows we're going to have to play ourselves into game shape. It's going to take us a week probably to do that.
Go to Joe.
Yeah, Coach, I was interested to see how the talks you guys had with JSU once the tournament was postponed. How did you guys just still work it out to where, you guys can still play at least in the month of December and still have it as part of your non-conference?
Yeah, and Wayne's team has had to pause, and they open up tonight, obviously with Mississippi State. And so we tried to get back on the phone with two schools, Central Arkansas and Jackson State. And Thomas Gray, our director of basketball, had a lot of conversations with Jackson State, and we really wanted that game to happen. I know Jackson State did too. And we just kind of worked the schedule out. It was good that Jackson State could do it, and we'll look forward to playing them, and we'll watch them tonight on the SEC Network.
And a quick follow-up to that, I think, what's the dynamic like of you guys haven't played yet, you guys hit the floor Thursday, you're taking a team that's kind of going to get their jitters out in a sense tonight?
Yeah, I think we'll probably see that a lot. Well, I guess we'll be the last Power 5 team to play Thursday because Tennessee's going to play tonight. And because we could have opened up on the 25th. And, it just is what it is. I told our team, I said, guys, not one person in college basketball is going to feel sorry for anybody. We're not going to be any kind of excuse-making mode. We know exactly where we're at. COVID just attacks people in a lot of different ways, whether it's the virus and I have a mild case or somebody that really, really struggles with a tough case. And it's just so many different scenarios. So we're just going to go out and play and then just control what we can control and look forward to playing a really good Jackson State team who I think can have a great chance to win the SWAC this year.
Go to John.
Hey, Kermit. First, you mentioned you had a mild case, and that was obviously what was reported. Can you kind of take me through briefly, like your symptoms, like how kind of bad did it hit you, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, John. Kind of the day that we tested after practice, I just felt different. I had aches in places I'd never ached. I don't know, I just driving home, something was different. And I told my wife, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if I tested positive. We got our test back the next day at 6 a.m. or 6:30. And just aches and kind of chills, never any fever. I started breathing treatments right off the bat, just for preventive. I never had any problems with it. I went on all the different types of medications, and really after about the fourth day, I was fine. It takes a little bit to get your stamina back, maybe fully, but I'm full go. And like I said, I was in the gym all week last week, just individually with our guys, and I really was. I hate I was away from my team, but in kind of the big picture, I was very lucky.
And you mentioned that you guys will be the last Power 5 team playing. How much do you think like you guys are set back? Like, will time tell? You mentioned that practice was a little rough around the edges, but yeah, how much do you think you guys are like set back from that?
Well, I mean, and like I said, guys, I'm not going to keep repeating this during our process of the next 2 weeks of playing, but 21 days for me not coaching our team is 21 days, and it's this time of the year when you're trying to open up. You're trying to play. And so there's a lot of different things where we're going to try to go through. And then on top of that, for really about 14 days, we're almost in a pause. They got to work out a little bit individually. So you're dealing, with conditioning, and you're dealing with just basketball. Yesterday we turned it over probably more than we have, didn't shoot it as well. And it wasn't for lack of effort. I think that's just going to happen. And but I tell you what they did. Like I said, their energy levels was really good. They're just excited to play, and that's the biggest thing. I'm excited for them that they get to play a game. Knock on wood that everybody is good on both teams on Thursday, and they've worked extremely hard, and they deserve a chance to start playing right now.
Nick, go ahead.
First off, Kermit, just glad to hear you made it through and you're feeling better. But just from your perspective, how did you handle isolation, both as a team when you guys were trying to work together and just you kind of getting stir crazy in the house for a few days?
Well, Betty and Allie were affected more than I was. God dang, they were so glad I was leaving. I don't recommend watching Zoom practices from home because I was upstairs in the upstairs bedroom and I was hollering at the Zoom. I had my cell phone, and I had Connor Walsh, who's on my staff, and I'd call Connor. I'd say, get Jarkel over here right now. Get Devontae over right now. And so my wife finally, I hear her hollering up the stairs, would you please turn it off? Turn it off. So I think she thought I was going to jump out the window. So that was it was kind of frustrating, kind of being out of control of the situation. The isolation, 10 days just seems like a long time, when you're up there and you're away from people. You just want to see people. You want to touch your team and see your staff. And but it was fine. I mean, like I said, I know Allie and Betty are glad I'm out and going to work. And but I appreciate that. But I do. I feel great. My energy level's great, and looking forward to Thursday.
Go to Parrish.
Hey, Kermit, after the layoff and getting started late, you have 3 games in 5 days. Physically, just how do you feel that will be for your team?
Yeah, I really think, Parrish, that we need to play. I do. Or we, I've always said it. I hope, and we'll find out, but I do think the strength of our team is going to be depth, where we can put 10 or 11 guys in a game, and I think we're going to need that early on. I mean, if guys really trying to play effectively and really hard, it's not going to be for long, long periods of time early on. And so hopefully, the depth of playing, that Thursday, Saturday, Monday, and then Wednesday, and then Saturday again, But I do think, I don't think you could do it any other way, Parrish. We had to fit these games in a tight window, and our guys just need to play. But we're just got to play through some things kind of on the run, and that's just where it is. But you know what? Other college teams are doing that as well.
Obviously, you guys work to make this a better rebounding team. What's the rebounding mentality among your guards?
Yeah, in fact, we were just talking about that in our staff meeting today. Devontae Shuler and Jarkel are both good rebounding point guards. Austin Crowley led us in rebounding yesterday with 7. Luis Rodriguez has been probably in our top 2 all preseason. So we do think we have some competitive rebounding guards. We think Matthew Morrell can be a tremendous rebounder. He doesn't stick his nose in the middle of it, as some young guys don't do as much now, because of he's so athletic and so strong. And where I think we've got to get better, Parrish, has been a better offensive rebounding team. I think we're a really good defensive rebounding team, but Romello White, Hadim C, KJ, those guys, going back, and especially in these early games, taking advantage of our size and offensive rebounds. And when you offensive rebound the ball, other teams foul you, so foul trouble accumulates. That's something we've got to do better.
Back to Ben.
Remember, you've talked about how in a season that will contain so many unknowns, you have to have guys that are flexible, versatile. And Luis playing the 4 was one of those moves that you made before the shutdown. How did he look there? Did he look out of place, or did he actually take to it pretty good?
Yeah, he was good, Ben. I think the biggest thing, and it could happen in the SEC too, but you start playing Jackson State, North Carolina, Wilmington, Central Arkansas, their 4 men or 3 men. They'll play these active 6'5", 6'6" guys that are really good guards. They'll play them at the 4. So you really try to use it defensively. I wish we could have taken a longer look at it, Ben, and we kind of got shut down, But even yesterday and this morning we did some at the 4, and it would mainly be because of defending a smaller 4-guard lineup. And but he's adjusted well.
Neal, go ahead.
Hey, Kermit, I was asking about Luis as well. He obviously had a difficult year last year. He was talking about how anxious he is to get back on the court. It's felt like it's been more than a year, that kind of thing. Just for you personally, I know that he's one of those guys that you've always enjoyed coaching. How happy will you be for him that he's finally back out there?
Yeah, and Luis is. I really don't. I couldn't tell you starters, but I know one starter, and there are really a couple of them. And Luis will start the game on Thursday night. He deserves it. He's been so consistent. He's been physical. Just kind of what he did last year. He's been one of our best rebounders. He just embraces coaching. He never flinches. He's a great student. He's just where he's supposed to be. He's just one of those guys you enjoy coming to the gym with every single day. I wish he's a little more outspoken and verbal on the floor, but he's got great toughness, and I really do think he's going to have a really good year.
He said he felt like he learned a little bit about the mental part of the game last year when he was forced to watch because he couldn't physically play. Have you seen that?
I have.
Itself on the court?
Yep, I have. I think he's become a lot better in tune of watching film. I think he's, like even when he was playing the 4, his adjustment mentally was good playing the 4. I think he's gotten much better skill level off of ball screens, his assist to turnover. He leads us in our team with assist to turnovers. And, and coming back off layovers, you worry about turnovers and not taking care of the ball. And knock on wood, he's been really, really safe with the ball. And he's one of those guys, Neal, he's a ball mover. And those guys are just invaluable. Guys, they can just catch it and just move the ball. He doesn't have to make a home run play. And so he has a lot of good value in how he plays for us.
Back to John.
Kermit, how do you kind of plan to use Dimensio, and what kind of role do you see him playing in the offense, and how has he kind of progressed?
Yeah, Dimensio's one of our very best rebounders, and he's probably second or third on our team. He's usually in the top in deflections every single day, so he's active. He's like some new guys with us. He's an older player, but getting adjusted just to the different things we're doing offensively and schematically, defensively. But he's competitive. He's going to play a bunch for us. I see him playing mostly at the 3. He could even be one of those guys that go to a kind of a 4-man. And but you'll see his activity level. He's got a great voice in the gym. You hear him all the time, and he'll be a big part of our team.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was curious when you got your positive test and you guys tapped Ronnie Hamilton to kind of take over in your stead. Did y'all already have kind of like contingency plans in place going into the season? Was your positive test kind of like the first test for that?
Yeah, I was asked that question before. We had not really talked. In my mind, I knew exactly, what would do. I really hadn't talked to it to our staff in depth about if I go out. But I had a plan in my mind of what would happen. Number one, I got a lot of really good assistant coaches. Ronnie has been with me, and we named him interim coach. But Levi and Wynn and Thomas Gray would all have huge parts, on the staff, and and they did a really good job in practice, and our players responded. And then we had a couple players test positive. And then another one was socially traced, and we're full board ahead. We're just going to play. I think Sean Robinson had a concussion. We were down to maybe 8 scholarship guys, but we're going to go play the tournament. But then Ronnie started feeling bad and started feeling, those symptoms, so he didn't practice the team on Sunday before we're going to open that Wednesday, and then on Monday he tested positive. And that was kind of the one that kind of put us over the hump that they thought they had to shut us down and, for the 2-week period. So I hate it for Ronnie and our staff. Those guys would have done a great job, without me for sure.
And lastly, for me, I guess as a coach, how are you kind of guarding against all the emotions of that first game? Not for yourself and your coaching staff, but the players, because everybody's got that pent up energy and ready to go.
Yeah, I know they're going to be so excited. They've watched so much basketball, and you know what? I'll get that same feeling in my stomach. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and it's a great. You can't explain it. I mean, it's just a different feeling. It's a real nervous feeling. I don't care how many games that you've coached. It's just game day. So I know on Thursday it'll hit us. I can kind of start feeling it now. But I can just see the excitement in our guys and that they're looking forward just to playing in games and, just to let them know it's game week. Now they got 2 more days before their first official game, and they can't wait to play.